Hello dear chess friends, welcome to our course and welcome to our first chapter. The course is about legacy of one of the greatest champions ever, Alekhine, and this first chapter would be about a role of center in Alekhine's games. So you will see many Alekhine's masterpieces, and let's now focus to role of center in Alekhine's games. Let's see how he managed to implement central principles, central strategies to outplay his opponents. First game I will present here is the game Alekhine played in 1933 against Znaskoborovsky. He played that game in Paris and he led black pieces. Why this game? It will be clear soon, so let's now start with the game. Znaskoborovsky opened with e4 and Alekhine answered e5. That is his favorite move at the beginning of his professional career, but as you can see, sometimes even in later ages he liked to respond with e5 against e4. Let's go on. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, all that is normal, bishop a4, Rouleau-Pays, knight f6, castling, and d6. Alekhine always had his own treatments in open games, and he often liked to play Rouleau-Pays with d6 or especially with g6, early g6 system in Steinitz manner. Here after c3, bishop d7, rook e1, bishop e7, d4, and castling, knight bd2. Alekhine played the move we must criticize well, that is move bishop e8. It is normal to play ed, cd, knight b4, offering bishop exchange with launching pawns on the queen side with b5, c5, and unclear situation on the board. First, let's see what can be idea of bishop d7. Well, one idea can be to improve influence of the queen to the center. Liberating spot d7 may be important in case of knight d7 with bishop f6. So some strange regrouping happened in one game of Vasily Smyslov. I cannot remember about the opponent. Was that Lublinsky? I cannot remember right now, but you can find. Well, idea of black was in that game to play knight d7, something like this, you know. We transfer knight to g6 with extremely long regrouping and passive position of pieces. If that is idea, that deserves criticism. Anyway, even move bishop e8 deserves criticism as well. White has other options, then played bishop c6. That might be solid move formally from chess point of view, from evaluation point of view, that might be normal move, but from logical point of view that is epic fail. Why? If bishop e8 eliminates the board, leaves the board, or if it gets relocated from e8, that would be benefit for white. Take a look. That bishop is hindering practically whole black army. So what should white do? Maybe just h3, or maybe even more logical, bishop c2 can be the move. Why? After you relocate bishop from a4, there is no chance bishop e8 can be exchanged or removed. Don't take on c6 to help black to remove the bishop. Don't allow black to exchange the bishop. After bishop is removed from a4, bishop will stay on e8 bed for a long time. Bishop c6 is epic logical fail. Taking. I do not like to say white missed move bishop e4. I'm pretty sure white saw that as possibility, but I'm pretty sure he wanted against reigning world champion in that time, just to play for a draw. And he hoped that trading everything he could trade in that moment will give him easy draw, but that would be illusion. Here white has possibility, by the way, with queen b3, bishop is attacked, bishop d5, c4, bishop e6, queen b7, to take the pawn and to have that annoying threat of knight c6. Rook b8 will give nothing, queen can just escape, probably to a6, right? And here white must be better. There is some compensation, maybe black can hope to use bishop pair, but bishop pair is not active enough, and due to threat knight c6, white is evidently better. What happened in the game is white took, and black took d1. Now there are two options for white. Option number one is to take the queen, and after this, definitely not to play rook d7. Knight d7 is also nonsense because of the rook d8. Not to play this because there is just rook d8 and white cannot take the bishop, white cannot take the pawn, there is mate on d1 as a consequence, and white will just waste time. So if that is not possible, maybe f3, but after knight that cannot be good because there is bishop c5, of course. So let's suppose bishop e3, but then black will just play rook d8 with position balanced and equal. But white wanted to trade more pieces. After queen d1, he took on f6. And now question for you, how to take on f6. Most of you will tell bishop f6 is the move. And if bishop takes, rook takes queen, you take the knight, there is total symmetry. And after bishop e3, rook d8, that must be that draw with not a lot chances to go wrong. What should you do? Both with white and with black pieces, move king to the center, trade rocks, set pawns on light, and that would be drawish. But Alekhine decided to add some fire to the game. He plays gf, and after taking, f takes e. That's the position we need to talk about, and that's the position we will analyze a bit deeper. And let's stop here for a moment. Idea of taking with pawn to f6 and to e5 is to keep some tens on the board. What tens? Is there any tens? Well, look, situation is not symmetrical, so there are chances for white to prove that taking to f6 and taking to e5 is bad, but there are also chances for black to prove that is good. So everything will depend on player skills, and Alekhine skills in 1933 were on much higher level than skills of Znosko-Borowski. Without idea to overestimate someone or to underestimate someone, simply that should be considered as a fact. And the rest of the game will prove that. So Alekhine was sure there is no risk for black, and in prospects he can maybe build strong pawn center with f5, setting king on e6 with controlling center and chances to constrict the opponent. What happened in the game is white played automatically, I think, bishop h6, finished development with tempo, must be good, right? But I would suggest something else. I would suggest f4, that will determine the position. Defending pawn with bishop will lead to pawn island. After f takes, there will be two pawn islands, and these pawn islands would be easier accessible. Defending pawn with f6 may allow white both to block with f5, fixing pawns on dark, and to take, hoping to use majority g and h against h pawn 2 against 1 on the king side. There would be chances for white to go for something. Of course, after f6, first king f2, not to allow opponent to cut off the king. But if e4 is played, critical move and naturally looking, there is fantastic move f5. Practically white must do that. If white allows f5, black would be immediately better because there would be pawns fixed on light. White will have pawns fixed on dark, on bishop color, and there would be defended passed pawn on e4. So after f5, pawn e4 would be separated. White will have chance to use majority 3 against 2. And really, it looks like there are more chances to see pawn e4 is weak here than dangerous. That pawn easily can be blocked with king to e2, and black must play precisely to hold the balance. After bishop h6, that looks good, but actually that is not enough, because after rook f d8, king f1, there is simple move f5. There is motive of king f7, king e6, yes, but there is also motive of e4 to trap that bishop after king f7 to play king g6. Who knows? So Alekhine voluntarily, Znasko-Borowski voluntarily gave the file. I do not know why. There is possibility to play bishop e3 or g3 even without that. And now g3 saving the bishop. Alekhine just played king f7, bishop e3, and here we need to stop. Normal move would be king e6, but next played move will just lead to inverting move order. So question can be for you what to do after king e6 and king e2 for black. That's the move Alekhine did at that moment. That is fantastic move, and really simple one, h5. What's the idea of such, I already said, simple move? Well, idea is to get rid of that separated pawn. That pawn is potentially weak. It is separated, but we cannot say pawn is weak on h7 because that cannot be attacked by white pieces. But still, potentially, that can be a weak pawn. After h5, black will play h4. That is some sort of minority attack. And black will threaten in some moment maybe to take, maybe to advance to h3, who knows, with setting some small problems to white. King e2, king e6, rook d1, and of course keep rooks on the board. If you take, you will just temporarily make white king passive. White will play f3, b3, organizing h3 and g4, and only white can have better chances because of chance to get more distant passed pawn on the g file. There is nothing white can do on the d file with a rook, and naturally Alekhine keeps rook on the board. f3, natural move, h4, and you can see taking on h4 is bad. There is rook g2 with invading. White must play bishop f2. Alekhine gets moment to take and to play rook h8. That is not dangerous for white, but still that is unpleasant and annoying. You know, no one likes to have opponent rook on the second rank. So bishop g1 was played, bishop d6, that is very fine move. Not only restricting rook blocking d file, but also, let me mark this, also targeting the pawn. That pawn might be in danger. Who knows, maybe there will be possibility to transfer king to the queen side. Probably not, but as possibility that for sure exists. King f1, white waits, making sure there would not be surprises like rook h3 or rook h1, you know. Rook g8, targeting the pawn, there is contact. Bishop f2, who knows if there will be e4, right? White is ready to play king g2. And now it is time to stop for a moment. Stop once again. I suggest you to pause the video to find the plan for black this time. Alekhine played fantastic move. He wanted to use the fact white has some pieces stuck on the queen side. These pieces, I'm talking about king and bishop, must guard on g3, must guard on the king side to get ready to defend the pawn and to prevent invasion on the h file. Black uses the fact of that, all of that, to strike on opposite side, but okay, don't advance c5 because of c4, don't advance a5 because of a4, always advance pawns this way to avoid the blockade. One may say after b5 there can be blockade. Yes, but b4 will fix pawns, light pawns on dark squares, and there is immediately a5 with rook a8 and invasion. If no taking, there is rook a8, taking with inevitable invasion on the a file. White decided naturally to wait b3, a5. Now fixation is not good. Fixation is not good because black invades. King e2 may look more precise, but white wanted to guard on the king's side to prevent something like rook h8. So king g2 was played. Now king is far from queenside and a4 direct play. But wait, does that mean white can with ba, rook b1 get the file? Yes, of course, but white rook already has the file. Rook b1 will be nonsense. All that would be nonsense because there is nothing white can get on this file, and black has king d5 with invasion. King goes active, and you can see white is just lost after black king invades this way. So rook d2 was played, but of course now black invades. It is easy to say that after b4 black has just this, and preparing c5 black would be ready to give that formally better bishop for formally worse bishop, but pawn c3 would be in danger and black will finally activate the rook with invasion. So rook d2, now it is trivial, taking rook a8, and white tried with c4, that is mistake. King f1 is correct, where after check, still there is nothing evident for black. If rook a3, there is just calm move, rook b2, and white will transfer king closer and closer to the queenside pawns. So why is c4 mistake? Good question for you. Evidently, I will say now black has rook a3 and pawn b3 would be in danger. Now rook b2 will lead to collapse after b4. Yeah, after b4, because there is threat of e4 with bishop e5, and looks like not possible for white to eliminate this threat. If cb, that would be better defensive try. Rook b3, g4. White would forget about b pawn, but he will try to reduce material to create outside passed pawn. You know, with 1 against 2, there are always chances to trade pawn for a pawn, to sack bishop for last pawn, and to get theoretically drawish endgame with rook against rook and bishop. But white did another mistake, c5. He wanted to keep material, bishop e7, rook b2, and now once again fantastic move b4. Not only fixing target on b3, but also securing pawn c5 would be separated and not connected with white pawn b3 if that pawn comes to b4. Yes, white would play b4 to play bishop e1 later to defend that pawn and to liberate rook for the action. But after b4, no, there is not bishop e1 because black takes and defends. White tries g4, and once again I suggest you to pause the video to try to find fantastic move played by Alekhine here. There is reason to take, there is reason to play e4, there is reason to play maybe rook a1, but I find just fantastic move that was played, that is f4. Why to make e5 pawn backward? Why to fix so many pawns on bishop collar? The point is white never can play g5 and never can support that pawn with a bishop and never can support that pawn with the king. On the other hand, black has clear plan of invading with king d5 with e4, or maybe e4 immediately with king e5 next. King f1, naturally check. King e2, don't play bishop e1, there is annoying bishop h4 with brutal paralysis. As you can see, there is just a Zugzwang, you know, with rook c1, king d5, something like that. So king e2 was played, but now rook c1. Rest is really matter of technique, but let's see that game till end. Rook a2, rook goes active, and very nice move, rook c3. Take pawn on b3, don't take pawn on c5. Pawn on c5 will fall later. Rook a7, king d7. Rook b7, rook b3. Everything is normal. Rook b8, and now very nice check. Driving king back to get time to play b3. After king g1, king c6, king is safe. Defending pawn and attacking pawn and ready for action. King f1. If rook moves from b8, there is moving rook with b2. So now king d5, preparing e4, rook b7, and Alekhine well prepared next move. White to go for passive bishop d8 or passive king moving back to c6. There is e4 with direct win. Something like this, rook c7, can be met with e3, attacking the bishop. Taking bishop will lead to defeat, game over. b2, and after rook b7 there is this with rook c1 and promotion. Taking on e3 will change nothing, because once again there is this, and after check there is again the same threat. So white must practically take on e4, but now taking, and after rook c7 another beautiful intermediate move, king f3. What to do? There is threat of rook b1, bishop e1, bishop h4, taking everything with promotion of pawn to b1. White must take, but now taking the bishop. King must go to e1, and b2 securing promotion. The point is rook c2. Rook b7, rook c2, but now c6. There is trick. Don't play rook c1. Don't play b1 then, because there is trick with c7. Tricky continuation, but just king g3. Don't take the pawn. That pawn is good because that pawn makes your king safe from checks. There are not checks on the g file, and if check comes from third rank, you will just play f3 as happened. King d1, but now there is rook c7, and after rook b2, f2 wins easily here. Mr. Znasko-Borowski decided to resign. As you already know, we will, as usual, see that game once again, briefly this time. So all of that is normal. But bishop e8 is not normal and is not good. For some reason, that move was popular in 30s, 40s, and 50s of last century. But simply by taking on c6, white gave justification to that poor move. Bishop c2, for instance, as explained, would be good move. Just remove bishop from a4. There is no chance to take on c6. With bishop e8, there is no chance to exchange it for bishop on a4. So after eliminate that bishop, bishop e8 will stay there and stay bad, hindering other pieces. So bishop c2 would be the move, but after that, evidently white wanted to trade everything to play for draw. And now, maybe he did wrong move. He should play rook d1. That would easier lead to draw. Yes, there would be knights on the board. He wanted to eliminate knights, but now as a result, pawn structure becomes not symmetrical, and that may add some fire to the game. White didn't play f4, a radical assessment, where after e4 he plays f5. He played naturally looking move, but now he failed. He gave file to the opponent, and opponent Alekhine, in his suggestive manner, tried to play actively, and only actively. Keeping rooks off the board, of course. With rooks there are chances to play for a win. h4, getting rid of a weakness. And practically that is the move, tying up white pieces to defend some weaknesses on the king side. Not real weaknesses, but still unpleasant situation. And it is time to strike on the queen side finally. Black managed to invade on a file. White played badly c4. It was better just to wait with king f1. Then after rook a3 there would be rook b2. So c4, careless move. c5, another mistake. Now after that there is just b4, not allowing white to connect pawns. Sooner or later c5 pawn will fall, and that happened, but in that moment Alekhine decided rather to take b3 pawn. Now looks like c pawn will fall, but white didn't want to take on c5 to give black a chance to take and to march with g pawn. Bishop e7 stops that pawn. Alekhine decided to activate king with king d5, to play e4, and directly to use king, bringing it to f3. And the rest is trivial, more or less trivial. Avoid trick with rook c1 and b1 as explained. So king g3, now taking in last moment, right? If rook c7, b1, queen easily wins. After that, f2, Mr. Znosko-Borovsky decided to resign. So you could see how Alekhine managed to use role of center. I will just pay attention on that diagram. On that diagram, you can see black controls better center, much better, and controlling of the center gives him chances on both wings. White cannot easily regroup from king side to queen side. That's why after b5, Alekhine was able to organize crashing attack. Of course, to be fair, white helped with a few imprecise moves. I'm talking about c4 and c5, but still control over the center is very important because that was the factor giving Alekhine chances to strike first on the king side and then on the queen side with success. With these words, I want to conclude that video, wishing you the best for your career, the best for your future games. Take care about center even in endgames. That still remains a leading chess principle. Win many games as Alekhine did against Znosko-Borovsky in that video. It is time to switch to next game.